Okay, good evening. This is the meeting of the Municipal Land Use Board for the Borough of River Edge. It's Wednesday, July 8th, 2026, time now 7:34 p.m. This meeting of the Municipal Land Use Board of the Borough of River Edge is being held both in person and remotely via Zoom in compliance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act and associated regulations. Notice of this hybrid meeting was published in the Bergen Record, posted at Borough Hall, and posted on the borough's website. The notice included the dial-in and login information necessary for public participation and access to this meeting remotely. A copy of the agenda for this meeting was made available on the borough's website near the posting of the meeting notice and included the dial-in and login information. At this time, we ask you kindly silence your cell phones. During the public comment period of this meeting, if you would like to make a public comment, you may step up to the microphone if you're in person and wait to be recognized by the chair, or press the raise hand button on Zoom, or dial *9 on your telephone keypad to raise your hand. You may mute and unmute yourself by pressing the microphone icon on Zoom or dialing *6 on your telephone keypad. You must state your name and address clearly prior to making a public comment. With that, at this time, I ask everyone to please stand and we'll salute the flag. Mr. Gibbons, would you do the honor, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, I'll ask our board attorney to call the roll, please.
Thank you. The mayor is excused tonight. Mr. Caslin?
Here.
Mr. Cray?
Here.
Ms. Boland is excused tonight. Mr. Gibbons?
Here.
Mr. Canigo is absent at the moment. Mr. Salva and Mr. Gautier are excused tonight. Councilman Glass?
Here.
And Ms. Levine?
Here.
Also present, we have our zoning officer, Mr. Depkin, on Zoom, and our board engineer, Mr. Costa.
Okay. Our first item, we have no items under correspondence, approval of minutes, or discussion items. We're going to move directly to memorializations. First item, applicant is Mellow Bagels and Cafe LLC. The property is 101 Midland Avenue, Block 206, Lot 3. It's an application for a food handler's license, no exterior improvements except changing the name on the existing signage. A draft of the resolution was submitted for the board's review and comment prior to the meeting this evening, and I open it to the board for comments or questions.
And my apologies for the delay on this. This one did not require any variance relief, and the applicant had agreed to conditions regarding working with the borough and board professionals for any odors, coordinating deliveries so they wouldn't impede driveway access, installing signage to discourage parking in the adjacent southern lot, and complying with all other comments and recommendations in the board professional reports.
Questions, comments on the board? There being none, I'll look for a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, we have a first from Councilman, a second from Mr. Craig.
All right, and I'll only call those eligible. Mr. Caslin?
Yes.
Mr. Cray?
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons?
Yes.
Mr. Glass?
Yes.
And Ms. Levine?
Yes.
All right, the motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Our next item under memorializations, the applicant is Sweet Spot River Edge LLC. Property is 75 Route 4 East, Block 1415, Lot 1.01. Application for variance for square footage of main and secondary signage to improve visibility from traffic. Draft of the resolution was submitted to the board's consideration prior to this evening's meeting. Open it to the board for comment, questions on the resolution.
And again, my apologies for the delay. One change I did realize, I had listed that there was a condition that the applicant would remove the freestanding signage on the Regency's pylon if they received DOT approval for the easternmost driveway. In the resolution, I had it dual access, but they're just asking for ingress only at that third driveway. So I'll just update that in the resolution. Otherwise, they are getting they were approved for variances for the total number of signs, the signage area, the freestanding sign, and the setback of that pylon sign from the front yard.
Okay. Questions or comments from the board? Okay, with that modification just read, I'll look for a motion to approve the resolution.
So, I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Crane first, and Mr. Gibbons on a second.
All right, and I'll only call those eligible. Mr. Caslin?
Yes.
Mr. Cray?
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons?
Yes.
And Ms. Levine?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Our last item on our memorialization for the evening is a resolution appointing our board attorney, conflict board attorney for the application of IAAT Services LLC. Subject property is 41 Grand Avenue, Block 1405, Lot 4. A draft of the resolution was submitted to the board for review and consideration. Open it to the board for comments or questions. Resolution.
And this is for Mr. Liebman's continued representation of the board in the litigation that was filed by this applicant.
Questions, comments? There being none, I'll look for the motion on the on the resolution, excuse me.
So moved.
I think I have first Mr. Gibbons on first, Ms. Cray on a second.
All right, Mr. Caslin?
Yes.
Mr. Cray?
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons?
Yes.
Councilman Glass?
I don't know if I can comment on this,
Oh,
right?
you didn't participate in the,
Conflict case.
it's just for the conflict council. You could just recuse yourself if you'd like, that's fine.
I recuse myself.
All right, and Ms. Levine?
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on our agenda this evening into old business. Applicants are Michael and Melanie Schweiger. Subject property is 265 Adams Avenue, Block 506, Lot 3. Application seeking approval for construction of an outdoor living space. Applicants here, if you folks want to come forward.
And just for the record, the applicants and their contractor were previously sworn at the June 10th meeting, and they remain under oath tonight. The application was deemed complete on June 10th and was carried to June 24th, and that without further notice, and then on June 24th, it was further carried to today's date without further notice. And could you just make sure that that microphone's turned on? You just press the little gray square. Yep.
All right, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay, get myself a little organized here. Okay. Thank you for allowing us to return to discuss our application for a covered deck. I'm going to read a statement that we created together. My husband and I have been River Edge residents for more than 10 years. We purchased 265 Adams Avenue in September of 2025 after construction and inspections of the home were completed. At the time of the purchase, we had no knowledge that the property was undersized for the zone or that we were purchasing a non-compliant house. Thank you to Mr. Depkin for providing clarification documents and a zoning review memo. After analysis, it was clear that these conditions existed before we purchased the home, and again, it was unknown to us at the time of our closing. So to us, we think that the hardship is straightforward. This is both an undersized lot and a pre-existing non-conformant property. First, the lot contains only 600 square feet in an R1 zone where a conforming lot would contain 7,500 square feet. Because the lot, oh, sorry, did I say that wrong? Okay. Because the lot is significantly undersized, it does not enjoy the same development flexibility as a conforming lot. A homeowner on a conforming lot would reasonably construct similar outdoor amenities without seeking the relief that we are requesting tonight. Had this been a conforming lot, we would likely not be here today. Secondly, we purchased a newly constructed home, believing it had been built and approved in accordance with applicable requirements. Our purchase documents specifically state that the home was constructed in compliance with applicable building codes, zoning ordinances, and other legal requirements. We had no knowledge of this non-compliance and were not informed of any such information prior to our closing. Additionally, when we purchased the property, we understood the borough's ordinance preserving 5% of lot coverage for outdoor amenities. Based on that ordinance, we intentionally designed our proposed deck to remain within the 5% allowance. Instead, because of some mistakes that predate our ownership, we are now seeking this variance relief for a 277 square foot covered deck that falls within the type of outdoor amenity that this ordinance was intended to accommodate. So for our family, I mean, this project is so much more than a deck for us. I mean, as two parents with two young children, we hope to create a safe and a functional outdoor space where we can play games, host family gatherings, and just simply enjoy everyday moments together outside, just as we did in our previous home on Monroe Avenue. I will direct your attention to the poster board here to visually show the backyard on all three sides. So the picture all the way on.
I'm sorry, were these previously submitted to the board? Yeah,
No, we're bringing them.
okay, so I just have to mark this as an exhibit.
Okay.
So if you could write, or, do you have a digital copy of this?
I could take a picture of it and send it to you, or I have
Okay,
the individual
yeah.
photos that I can also send to you
At the end
individually.
of you can just write on that board Exhibit A1
Okay,
and take a photo of it and send it to our clerk, Jessica, for our records.
okay.
And then if you could just describe the photos, who took them, the date they were taken, and what they depict.
Okay. Who took when? Okay. If I could direct your attention to the bottom right photo. So that is the property on the west side, so that is up the hill from our property. You'll see that there's a retaining wall as well as a fence. So it's significant privacy allows from that neighbor on that one side. So having this coverage deck here, definitely, I do not think that that would impact them. If I were to go to the bottom left, that's the house that's to the east of us. They have the fence. We've spoken with both neighbors on Adams Ave on the west side and the east side. Both have not had any water damage, and neither one has any issues with our proposed project.
Yeah, on that side, you can't actually see anything, there's no windows, except for the first floor, you have to like look up through the fence, that's just a point.
And then I leave the top photos for last because that's the rear. So again, this picture was taken from the back door. And so you can see that there's the 6-foot fence. And if you actually just think about from a scale perspective, how high those dense shrubs are. The picture on the right, again, I took this kind of standing on the retaining wall myself, but that's the side view. So again, I didn't quite measure it myself. I think 4 is probably on the minimum side. I think it's probably close to 5 feet, but that's how dense the shrubs are behind our property.
Just backing up the comment where I made the comment that I don't even know what color the back of their house is, I can't see, there's no visibility.
Yeah.
And
So-
did you take those photos?
I took them,
Okay.
yes.
And do you know about the date that you took them?
I'd say like last week.
So 7/1/20?
Sure.
Okay. All right.
And then last thing I'll say is here that we are committed to working with the town to make improvements to protect our neighbors, and more specifically for stormwater. And that brings us this next topic. So we did take the board's concerns seriously regarding stormwater, and it resulted in our professionals to develop a plan that addressed those concerns. So I'm going to just pass the baton to Sean now to talk a little bit more about that plan.
Yeah, so we got some information from the engineer regarding the existing stormwater system that was there. We had the plan updated to show the location of that and then include another Coltech 150 to basically capture 3 inches of stormwater over the square footage of the increase of the 277 square foot of impervious coverage. So the plan addresses that. And I think that's what you guys were looking for at the end. So hopefully that addresses stormwater and we can go from there.
So, I'm sorry, I just wanted to clarify some of the dates on the revised drawings that were provided. We received a full-size copy of plans titled Site Plan, Deck Plan, Perspective Overview consisting of 3 sheets. It has a date of 7/6/26, but then it also has it has an original date of 7/6/26, but then it was revised 4/10/26. And then we received a similar exhibit that consists of 3 sheets just titled Site Plan Perspective Overview, that has an original date of July 3rd, 26, with revision date on July 3rd, 26. So if you could just clarify those two.
This would be the copies that I just gave you, right? The physical copies?
The one that the physical large scale set is dated 7/6/26, and then the one that was provided last week is dated 7/3/26.
Right. There was
So-
an update for the stormwater?
So that's,
Yeah, the only update was
The
the
only
stormwater
difference?
management, basically the calculations and the Coltech chamber detail on page 3.
okay,
There was a note on the site plan as well, just denoting the location of the existing and proposed.
okay.
We should clean up the references though, because you have a submission here that does have a revision 2 with the July 3rd date, but your July 6th submission does not have that similar notation. So just for purposes of keeping
Yep.
things, clear as to what we're reviewing and approving, we need that to catch up and be accurate.
Yeah, we can get a letter on that for you if you need it or an update.
Okay.
Can you just, for the record,
Mr. Salva's here now, yes.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I'm late.
oh, thank you. Sorry.
Mr. Costa,
Mr. Chairman, how are you?
how you doing?
I apologize if it's a couple minutes late.
Not at all.
So after the last meeting, we went back, next morning I went back to the office, we pulled the old file. We had photos of where the tanks were. I spoke to the builder and we provided that information to them and they put it on, on the plan. It actually might be a little bit closer to where the actual proposed addition is going. But again, the only way you're gonna find out is if it was approved and you dig it up to find out exactly where it is. The as-built that was provided to the office was
Inaccurate.
inaccurate. And that's where I think the problem lies. And again, I know you heard an opening statement and a letter written. So when that as-built was provided to Mr. Decken, the construction official, and to our office, it's not correct, based on the new drawings that are in front of the board tonight. Who's to blame? Who's to go after? I don't know. But I think at a minimum, right now, based on the information in front of you tonight, and Marina, you can certainly join in, they have a house that's actually non-conforming. So at a minimum, the board might want to consider, if they don't approve this, to at least approve what they have there today, that it isn't a non-conforming situation. And again, I don't think it's not because of them. Obviously, they took ownership in September. Yes. And the documents that were submitted, and Steve, you can chime in anytime you want, but based on what I reviewed, that's what I think.
That doesn't really answer the question though.
How?
No, that doesn't answer the question. I mean, we're talking about as-built. What about when the application was submitted for the construction of the house? Was that conforming? The when they went to pull a building permit, not the as-built.
That, my office does not review,
All right, so that's a
that.
question
Go to
for Steve.
Steve.
Okay.
But what I said to Steve from now on, it's very simple. With CAD, we can check to a millimeter. So if we get those files, we will check the coverages to a, literally,
Okay,
very closely, very
all
easily.
right, but I wanna,
I don't know how it got to that point.
yeah,
That I can't,
okay, that's
don't
what I
know.
wanna know. I think that's what the mayor was asking.
What is the inaccuracy?
I think,
They had a conforming, basically, the as-built said they were conforming, their plans, to my knowledge, were conforming. But in actuality, based on this submission, based on what's there today,
What got built?
and what got built, it's not. And the as-built that was certified to the town is not correct,
There's at least 4 or 5
%.
issues on the as-built. There's percentage, there's miscalculations, there's seepage pits that aren't where they're supposed to be. There's permeable pavers that are shown on the as-built that are not there. And the whole point of us coming forward and just documenting all this on these new plans is to kind of protect them because they bought it under the
Yeah, no,
illusion that was there.
that's important, but what's really important, I really want to understand why this house was built if it wasn't conforming and it didn't have a variance. That's what I want to understand.
Well,
So
the
maybe
plans-
Mr. Depkin could go through his memo of June 18th to just explain the history.
Thank you, Attorney. Did everybody receive the letter of interpretation that I sent out with all the documents?
I think it was circulated by Jessica.
And I sent it to the professionals and also to the applicants.
Did you receive that June?
26th, I believe it is.
Oh, June 26th, okay.
June 18th. Okay, so what I did was I went back, I researched how this started from the very beginning before the house was renovated, and the builder was proposing what they wanted to do. So document number one was the zoning review, and that zoning review was amended in February 21st, 2025. They proposed building coverage at 24.95%, lot coverage at 29.93%. Therefore, we issued a compliance letter stating that it complied with the codes, and then they could proceed with their construction. Document number two, architect, the architect's proposed building coverage also stated the same. If you have those, fine. If not, I'll just go through them. They also indicated 24.95% for building coverage and 29.93% for lot coverage. And that would be under the 30% and then plus the 5% for amenities. When they did the final as-built, and it was completed, that was in September 2nd, 2025, it indicated 1,500 square feet, 25% building coverage, which was compliant, and then lot coverage turned out to be 34.48% without any amenities. So when we did the as-built, when it was submitted, it indicated on there that they were under the total 35%, but they encroached into that 5% amenities. And we, at that point, suggested that the only thing to rectify that at the time was to put permeable pavers in the driveway and a walkway. I think, for the sake of the applicants, I think there should be some consideration in regards to the amenities, but unfortunately, the project that they're doing also includes building coverage. And in that respect, they would be over the building coverage by 31.5%, which is not compliant, and the lot coverage would be 47.8%, and the rear yard setback would be 12.95 feet. Giving the approval for, say, a patio, you're eliminating the building coverage, that would remain the same. And they could use the patio as living space, on the exterior as they go through the summer and spring and fall months. And then as far as the variance needed, Rob is right, if nothing's going to be done, issue a variance for the nonconformity with the lack of the 5%, but it would be the building coverage, lot coverage, and rear yard setback. That being said, and we can talk about this further, there always seems to be a problem with these amenities. The architects don't understand it. I have to explain it to them. The building, contractors don't understand it. I have to explain it to them. And property owners don't understand it. I think we really should look into, amending the ordinance. I would recommend for lot coverage, 40%, and building coverage, 25%. With that all encompasses the size of the lot, the minimum size, and the coverages. Makes it a lot easier. The 40% isn't that much more than your 35%, and it's easy for the amenities to
Let's
exist
hold on.
if
Let's
they
hold on
choose.
that for a separate conversation, Mr.
Yes,
Deputy.
that's fine. That's all. I put that out. If you want to talk about it, fine.
See, that's not the issue though, because you just explained they submitted a compliant set of plans when they applied for a building permit. So they understood, because they came right in at 30.
You're talking about the builder, yes.
Yeah.
correct.
So they submitted a compliant set of plans, then they built something different, and then they
Correct.
even accurately reflect final conditions on the as-built. So
Correct.
I don't know, we need to probably maybe think about taking some kind of action against the architect that's filed those plans.
Um,
I have a question. I believe that you said that it was realized on early September, that the as-built was incorrect. Is that what you had said before the house was sold? That it was known?
Yes.
So how did they get a CO?
Well, it was inadvertently missed. I stated that in my memo.
But how was that
When it
made?
came up, excuse me, when it came up, I stated to the contractors that now what can you do? They asked me what you can do, and I says, well, you're in a spot. I would suggest maybe making the driveway and the walkway permeable, because they changed the size of the driveway, and they changed the walkway. So if I guess maybe at that time I should have went after them to amend everything, rip everything out, and go forward. But apparently, we did not.
So I'm asking again, because if they got a CO, that wasn't relayed to them as buyers. If we knew that they needed the variance, why are the Schweigers asking for a variance and not the builder asking for a variance?
As I said, it
No,
was
if
inadvertently.
it was realized if it was realized in early September that it was wrong,
Right.
they should have gotten the variance to amend. They shouldn't have gotten a CO to sell the house.
No, Steve, I think you're incorrect on something. They submitted an as-built that said it was conforming.
But
It
Mr.
was-
Depkin just said that he knew
No.
in early
The
September that it was
as-built
wrong.
The as-built that we pulled, and again,
No, but it was like 34%.
no, absolutely not.
He just said it was.
Yeah.
Steve, the as-built says it's all conforming.
No, he said lot coverage was 34%.
No.
Okay.
But we're hearing two different things here from two different professionals.
Well,
Mr. Depkin just said
what's
that
that?
he knew in September
Because the
that it was
calculation.
wrong.
No, the as-built. I just want to make sure I get the right. Okay.
That's, Rob, that's Kestner's, look at Kestner's as-built.
Correct. And Kestner's as-built puts it in compliance.
Well, it says, do you have Kestner's survey there, as-built?
That's what he wrote.
Right, yeah, it says 27 is less.
Says
than
27 is
25,
less
so-
than, but he says the number is less than 25, is
Yes,
24.
so that's building coverage. That's compliant. There's not an issue with that.
What about the lot coverage?
The improved lot coverage, just underneath that.
Is compliant.
So it was less than 30.
It's compliant, it's
Lot
compliant for the 30,
Less than 30, or
Yeah.
30.
But it's not compliant for the amenity, because you got
Correct.
100% for the,
correct.
That's what I'm saying.
that wasn't on there.
Okay.
But as far as compliance with lot coverage and building coverage, according to that as-built, they met it. This applicant submits a set of drawings with different numbers on it than that as-built. So now we pulled, after the last meeting, we pull our file from the soil movement, which all we do is soil movement. Move the soil, don't bring it in, don't raise it up, don't affect your neighbors with drainage, thank you very much. And then Steve handles the rest. When we compared the two, I said, well, now what? Then I called, I believe I called you and said, well, who did the numbers on this? I said, let's get to the bottom of it. Let's do our own calculations, grab the CAD and get down to what's going on. That plan is inaccurate, this plan is accurate. So when they purchased the property, it's not that number, it's this number, and they're not in compliance with building coverage, lot coverage, forget about the amenity coverage right now. But those two things which exist today,
But
So
if
what
the-
was the lot coverage on the as-built submitted?
24,
No, the lot coverage.
lot coverage was 34?
That's non-conforming, because they had no amenities.
And it's not accurate, though. It's higher.
I know it's not accurate, but
It
to Ryan's point, I
technically-
think Ryan's point is
technically,
very
But it doesn't
important.
exceed the lot coverage.
but it does if there's no deck in this property.
Right.
So
didn't
we
leave the
But at
knew.
least but the good news is it didn't exceed at
No,
least
no,
the
but-
lot coverage.
Right, but the borough knew that this was built
killing
wrong
me.
and a CO was given and a seller knew and they purchased a property, were lied to, I guess, potentially by the seller. And they were given a CO on something that had 34.5%, where they should be getting the variance, not the Schweigers.
I agree.
So it was known that they were over and it was allowed. And
Right.
that's a
That-
problem.
That's a little bit on us, I think.
that's on the borough, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's an important consideration.
Very.
Good evening. That being said, they will now be over on building coverage. That's not a deck that gets a deduction for amenities.
Right.
It's a living space. It's got a fireplace, it's got a roof, it's got a structure, it's got a screen. So it would be building coverage also.
Although it won't be a four-season house or addition, it's room. This is just for the summer months. This is just for us to enjoy some days like today, just be able to be outside as a family.
I appreciate that and I understand, and I don't think you would want to go any further, but it could be very easily converted into another room.
But they would need approval to do that.
No, it's all about lot coverage. It's about runoff and what it does to the neighborhood and stormwater.
No, I disagree. I think it's also building coverage in the rear yard setback.
Right, yeah.
What's the topography in the rear yard?
By the way, I think you can find the, whatever existing stormwater retention device is buried in the backyard without digging up.
I mean,
You can do
might-
geophysics.
Well, I'm saying you could do ground penetrating
Yeah,
radar.
yeah.
They're plastic.
Easily.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yes, you can.
We have a picture from his office, it's just a matter
Yeah, you don't have to dig anything up. You can get it surveyed. Sorry.
No. So we've got quite the.
Just want to get the.
No, the facts are important, but it's unfortunately quite an issue, which unfortunately you are involved in, which you have no doing on, involvement with, I should say.
So the difference between the lot coverage that was indicated, the difference between the lot coverage that was indicated in the final as-built and what is actually existing is around 5%, or no, 8% difference, because in the as-built, it said 34.48, and the existing is actually 43.2. Right? And
Proposed.
what, do you know what the physical improvements were that pushed it over? Was it like the building was a little bigger? Was it, did they add a little bit of patio or?
Yeah, there's multiple. So
Okay.
the approved plans that they submitted show the driveway in a different shape than what they actually built. This is what was approved. It was revised to show permeable pavers, which are not there either on the driveway or the sidewalk. The as-built, again, there's at least 5 different calculation issues with this. They show it as 25%, right, to be conforming, saying the dwelling is 1,500 square feet. But the dwelling itself is 1,500 square feet. There's a covered porch on the front that sticks out beyond that. So they're actually not conforming in building coverage, like Mr. Decken had alluded to. They're over. There's just nothing but errors on this. And I mean, you know, this is somebody saying that this is what's here, but it's not what's there. And, you know, I think they did their due diligence. They tried to research this and protect themselves and make sure they looked at everything. And when you get a document like this that says, hey, this is what's here, you assume it to be true. So there's building issues, there's lot coverage issues, there's a number of issues on here that are not reflected accurately. It also says that the coverage is 27.17%, which is less than 25%, which we all know is not true. And there's just a number of inaccuracies in this that, you know, nobody really caught until this point, I guess, but.
Yeah.
And again, I think as
So
Mr. Glass.
Since the last time you guys were here, what modifications were made to improve your application? You know,
So-
to improve your application in the eyes of this board, what modifications?
So the biggest concern, as we understood it from the mayor, was addressing stormwater. So we got the existing system to the best of our knowledge, what's there, where it is. We're proposing to capture all the stormwater for the 277 square feet, 3 inches of rainfall over that coverage, store that on site in a Coltech chamber.
So again, what change did you make since your submittal last time?
Stormwater management system.
Yeah, the actual
What's the
structure
change?
we didn't change.
What's the change?
There was
they're-
no stormwater management prior.
you're adding an additional chamber?
An additional
Oh, okay,
chamber, yes,
that's what I'm trying to
Yeah.
get. Thank you.
yes.
There was some on site and they're adding new.
Okay.
We're installing additional to cover every square foot of coverage that we're
Okay.
installing.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other members of the board have questions for the applicant?
I had a question just for Rob. With the existing stormwater management and the proposed, will that capture the runoff for all of the improvements
Yes,
on the property?
What's a 3-inch storm?
100-year storm. So basically, it's the intensity. It's 3 inches in an hour.
Okay.
Once you get to 6, I'll go out of the house.
I'd just like to address what Mr. Depping was talking about with the roof, having it being closed in. So this is a very expensive home that we saved up for years and years to purchase. And in our previous home, we made a big stretch and we put a louvered roof on. And it was very disappointing because we got the shade, but the sun would still come in on an angle, and then you'd still have the insects coming out there. And if it rained, you still got hit sideways. So this, we're like, oh, what's the next logical bet, to have something equal? So this is gonna have a little overhang with the real roof to protect us, so we don't have to run in if it starts pouring out. And the screen part is strictly because I can't stand insects. So we go barbecue and then bees and flies are on my food immediately and everyone runs inside. So it's not like an indoor addition, it's just to eat outside. But just let me clear that up.
The problem though is that while you may be fine with using it just as a 3-season room as you intend to use it, when you go to sell it, the next owner might, just out of speculation, could possibly convert it into additional living space. So that just factors into the equation, but.
So if I may, are there any other changes on the site that you could make to, I know that you purchased it, everything's new, but are there any things that you could change to make the coverages a little bit more compliant? Like, could you install some permeable pavers on a walkway or something?
We haven't really considered that because with the last meeting, there was a lot of confusion, which we just talked about for a half hour. So we feel like we didn't even really get to discuss the proposal that we have in mind. So we wanted to, of course, ask for what we want. I mean, changing the size of the addition isn't really feasible because it's already very narrow with the setback issue that we have. So with the furniture layout and, it's also a very big investment. So we don't want to cut it down so it looks kind of ridiculous. So we didn't think 277 it's within the 5% that we thought we had.
No, but I think what the question was, if you would consider, so what's there now, there's nothing, it's all impermeable,
Standard pavers.
standard pavers.
All mixed.
So there is some benefit, there is some discount.
Excuse me, on the survey, Kestner's survey, it says permeable paver driveway.
But I think that's been proven to be incorrect.
This is the as-built survey.
Okay, well, it's not representative of what the field conditions are. That's what
That's what the as-built survey is.
again, Mr. Depkin, that's not what's being represented in the field condition today.
When they do an as-built survey, they go out and they document everything on site and whether it's permeable or not. And they stated that it's permeable pavers. If that's the case and it's not there, then there's a major issue with that.
I think we've already established we have a major issue.
That was the reason to try to correct the situation, was to put permeable pavers in there so they stayed under the 30%, or they had a 5% that they could use.
No, so right now they're at 43.2. That accurately reflects existing
That's
conditions.
proposed.
No, 47.8 is
Is
proposed.
proposed,
43.2 is existing based on actual verified field conditions, not the inaccurate as-built drawing.
Mr.
So
Costa, you
it's
were,
at 43.2. I think what the chairman's trying to understand is or whoever it was, Mr. Craig, if there's other opportunities to lower the lot coverage somehow.
I'm sorry, Mr. Costa was going to make a point.
Here's, what we know is that there was an as-built that was provided to the town and certified, which is incorrect.
Right.
Inaccurate. I think, Councilman, you said it earlier, I think this has to go to a higher level. This board doesn't have police powers. I think it's gotta go to the mayor and council. And then I think the builder possibly needs to be dragged in, or Mr. Kestner, who did the as-built, or a combination of all the above, and say, gentlemen, something needs to change. And you fix it. But I don't think this board, unless this board says, you know what, we're not gonna go through that, and we're gonna approve the variance. Otherwise, I think it has to get to that level.
I think you're making it. Yeah, because it's just,
But we can't fix what's built.
but maybe we need a lawyer or some type of, like you said, different authority to.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the
This board
enforcement,
doesn't have police power.
yeah, I mean, what you've raised is a very fair point, and probably not something that we can address this evening. It's certainly a topic for another conversation amongst,
Well, I'm saying, here's, and again, jump in. This board has an application in front of it, so you have to do one of two things. You could say, come back again. You could say, thank you very much, it goes down in flames, or you could say, we approve it. The board can clean up the past if it wants to. If it doesn't, then I think it's gotta go to the next level, to the mayor and council, to the borough attorney. I need to probably get involved, Steve needs to get put in and say, okay, now what? Bring these people in and say,
Yeah, because otherwise.
how can this be?
But what is there is there. Like a house was built and the Schweigers own this home.
I understand that, but if
So-
the house was built and there's an as-built that says there's permeable pavers and the builder had to put them in and for whatever reason makes an executive decision and does not, then I think he needs a phone call to say, come on down, rip up the driveway and put in what you were supposed to. Otherwise, you possibly could fall into litigation with the community, with the town.
Absolutely, the people who
And
did,
if you want
who
to
did
continue
this
it, right,
need
further,
to
you
answer
probably
for what
have a
happened,
builder's
yes.
license and say, and now we're going to go after your builder's license.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
But
things you can do.
Right, but that's outside of our purview, and we have a
Right, but-
homeowner here
Yeah, but.
that is
Ryan,
asking.
I understand where you're going, but this is already a mess, so we have nothing we can't start here. This is not a good starting point. I think to Rob's point, we have to work all this out the right way, and then we can move forward with the application. Because it's just too much of a mess right now. And I think to Rob's point, it's not really for us to resolve. I think some of the history has to be, like, we don't have a clear path forward now. Because everything's just like,
How much relief do we
A
get
mess.
if it's permeable pavers for the driveway?
You pick up
How big is the driveway?
6%, 7%, I think.
It's 50%, so how much? what's the size of the driveway?
Just in the property survey that was from Lantelmi, is that an accurate survey that's dated September 4th, 2025?
Yeah,
Because that was prepared for the Schweigers.
Well, the plans, the big plans we have in front of us here say the driveway is 764 square feet. So
we get
I
almost
believe we're
380.
in agreement that that's accurate. These plans all right, so half of that would be the credit.
So like 380
Three,
square
three,
foot.
three,
on the as-built, which would be 50.
so this is accurate. This,
On the Kestner survey, they took the permeable paver discount.
is it 50%?
But that's not in the
50.
current drawings we're looking at.
Yeah.
So. and
Yeah,
that's
it was determined by the Schweigers contractor that did not actually occur. That's just regular pavement.
Listen, we could pretend that it's there. I don't think it helps their application, right? I think the best thing to do here is clear the air and just put all the facts on the table so that they're protected moving forward. This board can do that, right? They can decide to right the wrongs and say, hey, listen, this is a mess. We're gonna move forward. We're gonna do that. Obviously, there's a ton of issues in every direction here. None of them were caused by the Schweigers.
We get that. And certainly, what we're attempting to do here is try to balance our obligation as a public body, but also look at it from the equitable side, because they're coming into this with clean hands, so to speak. So,
Yeah, we want to do everything we can for them,
yeah,
but
yeah,
we got to do it the right way.
we're trying to balance it between process, compliance, equity. It's your home. We obviously are sensitive to that. We appreciate that. So it all comes together at some point. So that's what we're trying to.
I know sitting on this board a number of years ago, we had a similar application. Someone was coming in for a patio, and they had bought a house from a builder, different builder, but a builder nonetheless. And it was realized that they were over, and they had to get that variance. And we did, as this board, we did approve that and forgive the sins of the seller or the builder. I don't know what the borough did after that. That's obviously not our purview. But I would think that we have the ability to approve what is on site and still go after a builder, an architect, or whomever to take care of that, because the house is not going to be taken down because they own it and they're not going to allow that to happen. So I don't see why it's up to us to approve or not, but.
I have a question. I guess my concern is down the road, you want to sell the property, title report, CO, all that other stuff. So if we make an approval, do we compound the problem, without going through the process that Mr. Costa has laid out? I guess that's my concern. Are we making a problem that obviously wasn't their fault? Are we making it worse? And then unintentionally exposing the applicant and even the town to further liability if we sort of compound the problem.
If the board approves an application for whatever, either what's existing right now or what the applicants are proposing, that would protect the applicant in the future, so we wouldn't have this problem going forward, yeah.
With this property.
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, if we look at this from the standpoint of saying, we know we're gonna go after the builder for corrective action. And he fraudulently submitted as-built drawings. He, did not actually execute things he committed to doing, like putting in the permeable pavers, et cetera. But meanwhile, you've got a family that wants to do something. If we take 382 square feet of relief for a permeable driveway, that brings the proposed lot coverage down to like 41 and change, something like that. Okay, so it's getting within hitting distance. If we approve it based on the assumption that this borough is going to take action against the builder to correct the paver issue, does it make sense to say, okay, they can proceed, if we decide we want to approve the addition, the additional patio as is, so that we don't stop them from moving forward, but, recognizing that the other problem has to be addressed, but it's not their problem. They didn't cause it. So, and obviously there's some, we missed somewhere by accepting an as-built that was incorrect and certifying it and getting a CO and all that other stuff. So we take that under our wing to get that corrected. In the meantime, if we can live with the 41 and change as coverage, can we let the applicants move forward?
Well, certainly there's a cost to them, to do that.
Well, and that's what I'm saying, the pavers being, we leave the pavers as is until we adjudicate it with the builder. The assumption is we're gonna go and bring the builder and say, hey, here's the situation, you didn't build it, you submitted an inaccurate as-built, et cetera, go fix the paver issue. It's your responsibility, and if you don't, we're gonna take action. Meanwhile, they can do what they need to do in the back. It's almost, it's not that they're two separate issues, but there's two steps to solve it. One is, do we accept 41%, assuming the pavers get done, and two, make the pavers a separate issue that we're gonna take care of.
I don't think we can,
I don't know if we would want to condition an approval on a potential borough action, because we can't force the borough to take that action. And the applicants purchased the home as you see it today. I mean, maybe not to the untrained eye, you wouldn't be able to tell that it's not a permeable paver driveway, but they purchased the home with the driveway that exists today. So I think that would add an additional burden on the applicant if that were pursued.
If that were the condition,
Yeah.
and then for some reason you decide to sell before that all
Yeah,
gets
then-
resolved, that's gonna hold up your sale potentially.
It's our brother's 9 years old.
Okay, we're not selling, we love our
Believe me, I'm sure you're not, but life is funny as we all know it. So that's one of the things we have to take into account.
What is the life cycle of a paved driveway?
Permeable or?
Or the one that's existing right now?
North of 20 years.
Yeah,
20
I mean,
years.
it's probably gonna
20,
fade out
maybe
of
more.
style before it fades out of
Would,
function.
maybe, would the board or the applicants consider when the driveway is replaced, it will be replaced with permeable pavement? Maybe you won't own the driveway in 20 years, I don't know,
See,
something like that?
I think what the issue is, because of these documents are now here, they have a non-conforming situation.
Yeah, approve what exists.
That would require
and
like
then-
a deed restriction or like an easement for that to be enforceable. So that's going to a whole different place.
Well, do you need a permit to replace a driveway in the borough?
Zoning permit only.
Yes.
Yes.
So it would be in the borough's records that this resolution says that,
Yeah, but right now, because of these documents that were submitted to the town and the previous documents, we know there's, whether it's an error, negligence, or fraud, pick one of the above. You have that. And now they closed on a home that's existing non-conforming where they thought it was conforming. And now they have on the record, it's non-conforming. So you either need to make it conforming, and I'm sure there's these big words, estoppel and detrimental reliance and all that other good stuff. However, that's the reality. The reality is, this board can grant a variance, say, you know what, we're gonna grant the variance, thank you very much, and not put you through any of these hassles, or it's gonna go probably to the borough attorney, whether it's Steve that's gonna do it, whether it's myself at this point now that I know about it, and it's gonna play its course.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
That's where it has to head to, because here's the issue.
There's, Rob, you left one part out too, like we issued a C of O to.
But if it was done on a fraudulent basis, it's
But it was
meaningless. I mean,
non-conforming, we issued a CO. So this all has to be worked out. We issued, as a borough, we issued a CO to a non-conforming build without a variance.
Right.
Sorry.
Right.
Interrupted.
It needs to get, one way or another, it needs to get cleaned up, and it needs to get cleaned up for you, because now you have a cloud on your title.
Can both things be true where we again, provide variances, get them clear, and then still have the borough pursue the builder? Why can't
Chairman?
both be true?
Chairman, excuse me. As construction official, I could send out a notice of violation and penalty for falsifying records. And if they want to make changes to correct that, that would be their option. If they decide that they don't, then it would be whether the mayor and council want to go legally after them. That being said, this is just the lot coverage. Say the lot coverage is conforming, you're still dealing with building coverage and rear yard setback.
They would have the right to their administrative remedies, which could be, this board denies, they take on an appeal, and the game continues. Here's what you need, I mean,
Before you go there, just.
I'm not gonna say another word. because
Before
I
you
don't
go,
wanna-
one question. Who are you issuing the violation to, Mr. Depkin?
It would be the builder that did the project,
Okay.
Clancy.
I think at the very least, we need to fix the problem that happened. And at the very least, I think a variance is appropriate for someone who bought a house that didn't know that there was an issue. And the borough issued a CO on a house that needed a variance, and now we're asking homeowners to get a variance for something they didn't do. So at the absolute very least, if we don't agree that this project should happen, I think a variance has to be approved, or variances, to make their property whole. So if they did want to sell the house tomorrow, that they can sell the house tomorrow and not have any issues. At the very least, I think that has to happen today.
You know, what I would like to see is like a qualified legal professional give us an opinion about how to move forward with this. And I think that's what Mr. Costa is suggesting. I think that's a rational approach for a municipality.
so Mr. Depkin's issuance of any notice of violation can occur separate from the board's review of the application. The board there's many avenues that the board could consider. What is being presented right now, granting the variances that are proposed for rear yard setback, building coverage, lot coverage for this new covered deck, saying we're not approving the additional deck, but we'll approve what is existing today to at least protect the homeowner for what they purchased as existing. Or the board doesn't have to do that at all and say, we need to pursue the process in full, and once that's sorted out, then the property owner can come back to the board with all the correct information and make the application. But it's up to the board. If you want me to put together some sort of memo about all the board's options, I can do that, but I don't know.
If we were to just approve what is existing on the property, that doesn't necessarily change the application that's in front of us. Could we, is it an option to approve what is currently on the property and still leave this open for a second approval tonight, next week, whatever it might be?
There's no way we
No.
can approve what's
No.
existing on the property. We don't have an application, we have no paperwork, like, what are we acting on? There's nothing to act.
Zoning boards
You
do that
can't-
all the time.
You can't just like throw out approvals for something.
That's what they do.
The,
We know
the,
what's
the
on the
board,
property.
the
We know
board
what's-
There
can,
was no submittal, we act on submittals or.
the applicant did submit what is existing on the property. The board could say, we're not approving the deck, but we'll codify what is on the property existing. That's an option that the board could do. That's, Mr. Coster
It is, but here's the-
recommend, or
here's the
stated
caveat,
that,
And no disrespect to anybody here. Here's the caveat. If the board, if they get up right now and say, I want to amend this application, what's existing today, and grant these variances, and the board does it, and the board certainly has the power to do it. I think it opens up a Pandora's box that if anybody does anything wrong, no big deal, you come into the board and you just, no problem.
We don't have a complete application for these existing variances. I don't see what we're
We
approving.
change plans all the time.
We don't have even the start of an application for the existing variances.
We have what is on the property here. We know what the variances would be.
We don't have a submittal, a survey, and a.
We have a
request
survey.
or-
Here.
a request.
It's
We don't
right
have-
here.
We don't
Yeah.
have a formal request to approve the existing variances.
They're denoted existing,
No.
but that one time on the plans.
The application is for a deck, but do we have sufficient standing at this point with that application being made to approve the variances for what the current conditions are? Do we have authority right now to do that? In other words, because of the fact the application is for a deck, outdoor deck, right?
it's a site plan approval for a deck.
But what, instead of approving the deck, do we have the authority to approve just the current conditions? The house, the driveway, everything that's a existing condition today, we know it exceeds the permitted coverages. So can we take action alone just to approve that on this application, or if there's a new application have to be made by them, just as a procedural matter? Do they have to file a new application before us to say, we want you to approve the existing conditions plus the deck, if that's what they so choose?
No, I don't think that's necessary. The board has done that in the past where they've approved what's existing, we've approved what's existing and not the proposed addition or change. I don't think the applicant would agree to that. It's made it clear, they've made it clear that they want the deck application to go forward.
So I don't understand what we do. You're saying we can approve all the existing conditions, which all require multiple variances, without an application for any of those variances, or a review by our borough engineer, or a review by our
only
our building professionals.
I
We
believe
have
that,
no
I don't
submittal
wanna
related
play-
to
I don't
any of
wanna
the
play
existing
attorney.
conditions that require variance. You're saying we
I
can
think-
just
but
approve
the-
that?
They need to
but the
allow
variances
the
that are being
application.
asked for are building coverage, lot coverage.
No,
and
no,
set-
they're
set-
talking
wait a
about
minute, let me
existing
finish, let me
conditions.
finish. Or the building coverage, the lot coverage, and side yard. Now, there's some manipulation of coverage, okay? Driveway versus the new structure, et cetera. We do that all the time. Will you take out that piece of the patio, and will you put in pavers over here, and will you cut back that room a
But
little? We
our
do that all the
professionals
time.
didn't evaluate any of the existing variances. They didn't evaluate any of the existing conditions.
They
All
did,
they
it's
did
just,
was
we're just
they
taking
got
something
an
off of it.
application for a deck, right? Which accompanied variances for the construction of the deck, and they evaluated that.
But all they're essentially doing, if we adapt and take this project off, is we're decreasing the lot coverage and the building coverage that they are asking for a variance for. So instead of whatever the numbers are, we're just taking that deck off, doing the math, which we do on every single meeting. Like we said, like sometimes you take a patio out, you take some pavers out here or there. They would be taking this out for now, changing the lot coverage to whatever that number would be. The building coverage would change, and we do that every month.
That's not true.
It is true.
Have you ever reviewed an application for variance? Have you ever looked at one? And looked at all the information that the applicant has to provide to justify the variance? There's none of that in the existing application.
But it's there because they're asking for more than what they would be asking for. They're decreasing what they asked for. And we have the ability to change what was.
Actually, no. Right now, your assumption,
You should look at
when
an
they first came
application
in,
for
the assumption
variance.
is this: the existing conditions are this. And one would think there was relief given to get it to that. There wasn't. And now they're going for additional. So if you approve what's in front of you tonight, it's not really correct because what the existing condition was never, it was never permitted in the first place. It's CO'd, but based on the documents that have been submitted to this board, it was incorrect.
But the borough gave a CO knowing.
Doesn't matter. If the CO was given and it was done
But
negligently.
It's been testified that the borough knew that part of that was not right, and it was allowed. Mr. Depkin testified to that this
If
evening.
that's what he said, it's only one thing. It's the
But it
minute.
doesn't matter.
No,
The borough
actually,
knew,
It does matter.
the borough knew that it was not in compliance, that a variance was required.
That's fine.
And it gave
Two
us,
wrongs don't make a right.
No.
You ever hear that? So we made a mistake.
But the borough made a mistake and we're
That doesn't mean-
penalizing a homeowner.
That's why we have to get, you suggested a memo or whatever. We need a legal opinion for a path forward. Maybe we need an application for the existing conditions that vary from the code. I don't know. Sounds to me like we might. And then we can evaluate path forward. We can't just, I don't even know what you're suggesting we approve, because we have nothing before us to approve. We don't have an application for the existing variances.
Is there not also the issue that they closed on the house after the ordinance was approved and put into effect that reserved the 5%, right? Like, is that not
Good point.
also an issue?
It is.
Right?
Yeah, that's a
I
good
mean,
point.
let's just.
Yeah, they're grandfathered out potentially or some stuff.
Well, but let's just call it what it is. We're talking about going after the older builder, possibly the professional that prepared the as-built, all things you can do, right? I think you could agree none of that happens overnight, and that can be a long, expensive journey for whoever's involved in it, right? There's, the word inadvertent was used multiple times in this by different people. I mean, that just sounds like a long, drawn-out, expensive thing. There's a solution to fix this tonight, at least make them whole. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, but what is the basis of the variance? The basis of the variance is that the builder didn't do what he was supposed to do. He submitted fraudulent, possibly, or negligent documents, and the board should just approve it. I mean, is that the basis of getting a variance? No. Well, that's my, as the borough, I'm a borough official, right? Based on the last meeting you guys came, and based on pulling the old file, and based on what Steve pulled from his file, there was either, whatever it was, there was an error that took place, there was a mistake, but the reality is, this couple purchased a house, and as-built says permeable pavers, which you get credit for, they don't exist.
Right.
They don't exist. So rip them out and put in what was set on the as-built and put in what was, and that number will come down into compliance, right? The walkway and the driveway.
Right, but that shouldn't be their burden.
Well, here's the sad reality. They own the house. It's theirs.
Right.
Whether they want to take an action against somebody or so on and so forth, but the reality is, the document that was issued, however it was issued, incorrectly, fraudulently, however, who knows? But that's what exists today. And the board would have to grant relief on that. And what's the basis of the relief? That, okay, the builder didn't do what he was supposed to do, so and I bought it? I don't think it rises to that level, quite
I think
frankly.
it is a
That's where I
hardship.
respectfully
I
disagree.
think that is essentially the hardship. Is that
So-
we're
That's
in a
not,
mess.
it's not a
So-
hardship.
We're in a
You
mess.
can't self-create a hardship, because the builder didn't do the right thing, and you,
But we-
I didn't say you
So-
didn't
I
do your
think
diligence,
we know that
but
there's
quite
testimony that
frankly,
the town knew, and I think that's a little bit, it's frustrating.
I
I
don't
think,
know if, again,
just to add to, in aid of the applicant, in support of your requested variance relief, there are certain, under the municipal land use law, there are certain elements that can be met to establish a variance. You have to at least provide some testimony as to why that variance relief can be granted before the board. You've addressed the stormwater issue, but there are other variances requested, and if you want relief for the existing, I know it wasn't caused by you necessarily, you need to at least present something to the board to say why the board can grant that even the existing the existing overages. And you have to look at the municipal land use law to see what actually is a hardship and or there's an alternate forms of relief based on the balancing of public benefits
Okay, so
and
just-
negative.
Okay, so the burden of the variances of the house that we purchased is now falling to us? I just want to be super clear here.
Well, because
That's
you're
what I'm being told?
you're coming to the board to ask for additional relief, now the burden is, yes, on you, the applicant, to explain why we should grant the application.
Do we think that's fair for a River Edge homeowners?
That's what every applicant that comes before the
No,
board
it's
is
not-
required
it's
to
not
do.
fair. It's not fair, but
So
we didn't
just
cause it.
one thing real quick. Technically, I mean, isn't that what you submit for the letter of denial for, right? Like, we submitted a plan detailing the existing conditions. Isn't the letter of denial supposed to stipulate specifically what variances we're to obtain?
It's up to the applicant to request specific variances from the board. It's not up to the zoning official to tell you what you need to ask for. You're the one who's asking for the relief.
Right, but it's either approved or it's denied, and it's denied for said reasons, and that's why you go in front of the board, right? I mean, we have the letter from him that was revised a couple times, but
I thought that was the first thing we spoke in the first meeting. We're here to discuss variance relief for 1, 2, and 3. Which you just talked about lot building and setback, which is all related to the.
And you have to
construction.
just provide explanation as to why the board can grant that. You have to provide the proofs to the board as to why, based on the municipal land use law, how we can grant those requests.
well, I think we know how, right? I approve the proposed.
So,
There's no.
so you're requesting relief for building coverage, lot coverage, and setbacks.
Correct.
In order for the board to consider those variances, you have to explain to us why we should grant them using criteria that's set out in the municipal land use law. And I can't tell you I can't give you that legal advice. You have to do that. Okay, so I'm not sure, Mr. Scott, if you've presented before land use boards before, so if you could provide some of that just to aid the board in their decision-making
Yeah,
process.
so there's obviously a few things going on. Denoted on the plan, there's some existing nonconformities, the biggest one being the lot size, right? It's an undersized lot for the zone, 6,000 square feet, where 7,500 square feet is required. The lot width is also non-conforming, 60 feet where 75 feet is required. These are all approved conditions when the lot was subdivided and built upon. There is an existing side yard setback that is existing non-conforming of 4.6 feet where 10.5 feet is required. Those are all existing nonconformities that were approved on prior plans, I would assume, right? There is an as-built that shows that there is an existing non-conforming, or shows that there is a coverage of 27.17% that is less than 25%. We know that not to be true. We know that that as-built shows permeable pavers when in fact they are not permeable pavers. There is an existing building coverage of 26.8%, or 25% is permitted. That is an existing nonconformity. There is a existing lot coverage of 43.2%, where 35% is permitted, another existing nonconformity. What the Schweigers are seeking relief for is the building coverage of the proposed coverage, 31.5% from the 26.8% nonconforming, and 47.8% lot coverage from the existing nonconforming coverage of 43.2%, within the 5% of what they thought they had in the allowable amenity coverage as proposed in the ordinance. And I know we're talking about building coverage 26.8. We thought it was conforming. It was conforming. If you add up the numbers on the as-built that was here, that was submitted to the town, they add up to those numbers. They don't add up to what's here, okay? If you add up the 1,500 square foot and the front porch, these numbers are there, right? It's just, there's a lot of mistakes on this, right? But the square
Excuse me,
footage
the
is,
building coverage, when I did it, was accurate. I go by the foundation. That's how I get the square footage of the house. And there's an overhang, so maybe you're calculating that overhang in your building coverage.
there's a covered front porch. I mean, typically an overhang is determined by a maximum height or a maximum width of 18 inches, I believe. I don't know River Edge in particular.
You got a 2-foot overhang on the as-built. For the entire back of the structure.
Again, we know the as-bilt's not accurate.
Yeah, possibly.
Right. So that is in effect what we are asking permission for. The only non-existing condition we're proposing relief for is the rear yard setback. We're proposing 12.99%, where 25% is required. The existing is 26.66. Yeah.
And you've provided testimony that there's fencing and shrubs in the rear yard. There's the neighbor, the side yard setback encroachment, is that the side yard that has, where the neighbor doesn't have any windows facing?
The
Or-
side yard is existing. The proposed does not fall into
Okay.
that. The proposed meets both side yard requirements.
Do we have anybody in the public?
There is somebody in the public. If you want to open to the public.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless anybody has any further comments.
Motion to.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstained? We're now open to the public for comment on this specific application. If you wish to be heard, please identify yourself.
You can press the raise hand button on Zoom. Nope,
Okay.
no.
All right. Being-
Motion to close to the public.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? We're now closed to the public for comment on this application. So candidly, I'm at a loss as to where to go at this point, but I will leave it open to the board for discussion.
I guess I'll ask again, can they ask to have the variances that are needed to allow what is currently on the property to be passed and have a vote, if that's how they so choose, and still not affect potentially doing what they want in a second vote or tabling that part of it to another day until more information can be had.
That would require an additional, we would be essentially denying, unless they amended the application, we would be essentially denying the deck request under those circumstances.
So I guess they have the option of seeing how it goes with a vote. I mean, it can still be voted on if it's motion and seconded,
They can ask us to continue.
where we can continue and they can decide on how they want to. Just want to make sure everyone's clear on what options are on the table for them to get this. You know, and if they just ask to fix what's on the property and that's passed or not passed, what they would do after today. Just so there's some clarity. I don't know the answer.
Chairman, excuse me. Would it be possible for you to take a poll of the board to see what they want? Take the lot coverage issue out of it, and would those other two variances be acceptable? Kind of gives the applicant an idea of where they're going and what they would need to do to correct the situation.
Yeah, you can see, and if the board wants additional information, either from my office or from the other professionals, before they make a decision.
So just, excuse me, so your suggestion is, I'm sorry, take out the variances for the deck
For the lot
or for the lot coverage, I'm sorry?
Yeah, take out the lot coverage, say that is compliant, and they could, build whatever they wanted with the lot coverage. Would you be amenable to the increase in building coverage and the rear yard setback?
That's fine, I'm okay with that, I don't know what that gets us.
I'm not sure it does, yeah.
I mean,
I guess giving
I don't
your
have a
opinion
problem
allows
with that.
them to.
If you want to hear my opinion on that, I mean, I'll be happy to share it, but I don't know how that advances.
Let's go around the board. Let's start with you.
It's non-binding.
Okay. I guess I'm okay with, I'm a little bit uncomfortable with the setback, but we have the we have the screening. So I think I'm generally okay with the building coverage and variance to the rear setback. I'm not, I guess I won't give my opinion on that coverage. Okay.
I mean, I think I've made myself clear. I think it's, unfortunately, there was a mistake. Wherever it happened. Property owners buy a property and, assuming they can do something that they can't at this point. So, seeing that the backyard neighbors aren't going to see anything, I would be inclined to, approve, because it's the builder's issue is a different issue, and I think that should be pursued. But, we have someone that's trying to be reasonable and build something for their backyard. So I would be okay with the application as proposed.
So,
Yeah, no, I have concerns about the existing problems in the CO that was issued. So, as long as, we're certainly not exposing, the applicants to any further, any further exposure, I do agree with Mr. Gibbons that we can move forward, and then, I guess, at the same time, working with the town, we can try to clean up what happened and hopefully grandfather in, what wasn't, what should have been at least been variances years ago, grandfather them in now.
I just one thing I forgot to add. So we can also stipulate in our resolution, if it were to pass, very clearly that this cannot ever be turned into living space, have it on the record. I know the next people or them would have to come for a permit anyway, but I would have that as a stipulation in clear letter, and this can never be turned into living space and have real walls, or however it needs to be said. So make it very clear to them and whoever may buy it next, that that's where it is.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Ryan.
Sorry, I
Mr.
just
Gibbons.
wanted to-
No, I agree with Mr. Gibbons' stipulation.
Well, I'm inclined to agree with both Mr. Gibbons and Mr. Salva. I don't think that, I think the variance should be granted for them, but also pursue the other issues with the town and so that there's no fallout on them down the line. Who knows how long that'll take? I don't think it's fair to make them wait. So I tend to agree with, like I said, Mr. Salva and Mr. Gibbons.
Mr. Gray?
I want to make sure I understand what we're discussing. We're talking about granting the variance as,
The question was just, are you okay with the application not considering the lot coverage discussion that was held?
right, so I guess what I'm not sure I understand what that looks like. Does that say?
Can I take a shot at this? So all we're asking is if you're okay with the variance for the rear yard setback and the variance for building coverage.
Okay, got it. And-
That's
all right,
that's the
and the
question.
short answer is yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, assuming there's some way to get the.
I don't know where this gets us, but
I don't either, because the thing I'm struggling with is trying to, first of all, we're trying to right the wrongs that you had no responsibility for, which clearly we understand. The problem, though, is opening up this board for future applicants who come in and basically say, and I think Mr. Costa was alluding to this earlier, there's an issue, you need to help us fix it. And that's really not, that's not what this board is here for. We're here to help with hardships that exist that may or may not impact the use of someone's property. So that's where I'm trying to balance, our obligations as a board to make sure that, land use in the borough is done in compliance with the applicable code and regulations, but also enabling people to use and enjoy their homes.
at one time, I think I heard you say your office could, do a thorough evaluation and provide a recommendation on the path forward. I think that's a good way to go. I think that's the proper thing to do. Because all this is just, a bunch of opinions, a mishmash of, I think that we're getting to a lot of the facts, but they need to be like all in one place, clearly described and evaluated, and then recommendations, a legal basis, like Chris said, in compliance with the code and regulations for a path forward. Because, we all have experience, we all have opinions, but, I think we need it all in one place. It needs to be calmly and professionally analyzed and documented and reported on, and with clear recommendations.
My suggestion would be, but this is up to the applicant, my suggestion would be to carry this so that further analysis can be done without prejudicing them in terms of no renoticing, going through that expense.
What do we need to understand our legal standing on what we can, I think we understand what is here, what is on the property, what is being asked for. So what further information do we need?
It's more procedural to understand. It's not so much the technical side of where you're going. It's more the procedural. What happens if there is approval, there's denial? Where does that leave the state of affairs, depending on what action is taken?
But if we have what seemed to be general consensus that this is an application that could be approved, why can't we have a vote and approve what has been asked for.
So I
I
heard
think-
every one of you say that you want them to be on solid ground in the future. So that's what we're trying to get them to.
And I think
So
that,
there's no walking anything back. We have a firm, solid basis for whatever action we take. It's documented in a memo or a letter, and they're totally clean with whatever we
So are
approve,
you suggesting
whatever they
that,
do
I'm
in the
sorry,
future.
are you suggesting like a legal memo or legal opinion or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something more
Because-
official that will
But
protect
would-
the applicant down
but
the line.
approving the conditions on site and what is proposed. Because we know that this setback and coverage, we know what the numbers would be with the variances that would be required to make this property whole. If we know what that is, then why do we need to?
Because
Be-
that, you're looking
belabor
at it
this.
from the land use aspect, there's procedural aspect that has to be taken into account. And I know we're all looking at this, trying to go arrive at the best decision, the best analysis we can on this. The problem is, while we take action that has good intention and best intentions to get to a reasonable outcome, it may in the end not be the way that things should have gone. That's why I think further analysis
How are we gonna know that?
based on the guidance we get from legal.
and I think it's important to also lay out how any decision of the board could impact any potential violations issued by the town.
And future sale, and
This is all about.
I just want to understand why, just how we make this, because I think the most important thing is making sure that they're whole and their title is clear.
Yeah.
And if they want to sell the house tomorrow, but also allow them to do the project that they came here
There-
for, if it's so inclined to have it.
There is a tremendous amount of balancing that's going on here. More so than I think that we've encountered in a lot of applications of recent vintage. So without certainly prejudicing the applicant and without putting ourselves in some issue of precedent that's caused by precedent based on action we take, I think that's the prudent course, but.
And now that we have more information from the applicant and from Mr. Depkin and Mr. Costa about the history of what happened, I think my office can just summarize that to provide some options. for
Chairman, can I make another, a question, please? If their application is going for the maximum, which is over, what is required, negating the fact that there was an error with the survey and the builder, couldn't it be approved for that total coverage that is going over? So they don't have, because it seems to be you're doing the poll that you would be in favor of the building coverage and rear yard setback, doing the maximum lot coverage, which would be over the required amount, and then give them those variances. We could go, after the builder and the surveyor and so forth at a later date.
I
I
don't,
guess that's more for Marina to answer.
I don't see any benefit doing it piecemeal, quite honestly, but tell me.
Can't they both be true, though? Can't the board grant the variances and the Schweigers agree to, if there's any movement on the thing with the builder, that they will comply with whatever to put in the permeable pavers or, allow that to happen? I mean, if there needs to be.
Steve, you issued CO based on the as-built that said it was permeable pavers. Today, we know they're not permeable pavers. So if they rip out the pavers in the driveway and the sidewalk going into the house, then it's what you issued under your CO. Right? So the board then, it would reduce the amount of lot coverage based on that, based on what they're allowed to do under the ordinance, is what you issued the CO on. If you're willing to do that, then your existing condition falls under, and if Steve's correct with that you added in the overhang, then you meet building coverage today, and you meet lot coverage. you don't meet the 5% amenity because you probably get
No,
34.9.
they wouldn't meet lot coverage.
Sure you would,
What would the lot coverage be?
because you have almost 900 square feet. So
Oh.
you're taking out 450 square feet.
Okay.
So that's roughly 7-8%. And I think
All
that's
right,
what
they
you issued
need,
the
they
CO
need,
on.
they need 12.8, Rob. They need 12.8% to get,
No, they need 8% to get to 35. Forget about the 5%
Oh, okay.
amenity.
Because they're providing the amenity.
okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
But that's what was sent to the construction official. That's what he issued the CO on. But in reality, based on this, permeable pavers are based on the
Yeah.
testimony, they don't exist. So you can't credit what's there. If you're willing to rip it out.
Okay, so that's a
build it to
different,
rip
that's
it out,
another,
then
that's a
it.
huge.
I'm sure they'd be willing to let the builder do it, obviously there's a big expense.
Well, the question becomes this, and this is what I said in the beginning. If the builder comes back and does what he said he did, no harm, no foul, except for the 5% on the amenity that was supposed to be there, but you're saying that that took place after the fact, so it probably doesn't even fall into your, into this.
No, it should have. The ordinance took place before
Prior.
the house was sold.
So it was, okay,
Right.
so the 5%, you needed a variance because the 5% wasn't left over. Okay, you have the CO, but you're underneath the 35% lot coverage if you put in the permeable pavers with the driveway and the walkway.
You're asking me like I'm paying for it. Talk it out.
What I'm saying is, they purchased a house based on those documents that got a CO. Let me put it another way. If Steve tomorrow morning, and it's not Rob Costa, it would be Steve saying, wait a second, this is not right, and we're gonna revoke your CO. Now the builder is gonna come in, and now you're gonna get into ridiculous litigation based on why did he do it, why is there fraudulent documents? So you might wanna call your builder tomorrow and say, look, this is what, I don't know who the builder is or was.
The builder is one part of it, but what about the professional that?
They're a
put
River
together
Edge
the
resident.
What I'm trying to say is, if you do those two things, you fall under, and then this application
I don't think you
stands
do.
on its own.
I don't
I'm going
think
to
you do.
suggest this at this point. We've heard a lot of information tonight, and the last thing anybody wants to do is force anybody's hand in making a decision. Because I think there's still a fair number of questions that have left to be resolved. My strong recommendation is that you look to carry this.
I have a question. An estimate before a legal opinion is obtained. Are we talking about a week, couple weeks, or are we talking about months?
No, I would have it before the next meeting.
Okay, so you'd be
Yeah,
responsible
yeah,
for that. Okay,
yeah.
no, I didn't know that. Okay,
Yeah.
no, thank you. Okay.
And I just wanted to ask Mr. Salva, did you watch the video for the June 10th meeting on this?
I did.
Okay.
And is there room to table this to the next meeting?
Do we have anything scheduled? Oh, we do have the billboard on the 22nd.
That's our, I'm willing to push them.
How would you do this?
But this would be
Well,
first.
I would do this first, that's what I'm saying on the agenda, I'd be willing to push them down the agenda.
Change, but it's not sure yet.
So that's the only thing that's on the
Yeah.
July 22nd.
Yeah,
That's safe.
so we could get you back in here in 2 weeks.
Just to be clear, I thank you for your recommendation, but is there anything else that we would need to do, or we're simply waiting for, because before you said you can't give us any legal
I know,
recommendations,
yes,
so
so
I just
you
need
did
like
provide,
answers.
your expert, or your contractor did provide some background on the reasons for the variance relief, but if
Okay.
you have additional support for that, that could be considered by the board as a reason to grant what is above existing and what is existing.
I just wanted to say one other thing. We were talking about the building being as of right, the house being 15. I don't think that's accurate because the steps going into it aren't calculated either. And I think either way, the number is over 25%.
I think the board's willing, I don't think that's where I think, I would call the seller tomorrow morning. I would do that and say,
let's,
have a
let's,
That's what I was.
I think let's hear from the applicant if they're willing to carry the application to
Good
the
idea.
next
Thank you,
meeting.
Chairman. I apologize.
Sorry, just, this is my first time doing this.
That's fine.
So
You're doing fine.
If I say that, if I'm allowed to, actually, we can say we do want to vote now on this, or is that not an option?
It's,
I'm just.
You could ask you could ask for a vote now, but if the application is denied, you can't come back for the same application. It would have to be substantially different.
so I'm strongly suggesting that you consider a request to carry your application.
How many votes do they need?
They would need 4. There's 6 members here, 4.
Well, okay. So if we're just waiting, like, I don't know what else we could provide. This is a rectangle with a roof and screens, just like we know the dimensions, so I don't have anything. If there's other things that we're gonna figure out on your end that you guys need to sort out and we can carry the meeting, I'd really appreciate that. So and I do appreciate how you're trying to protect us. That was said multiple times by multiple people. So I think we're okay with carrying. Is that right?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
So just a motion to carry to July
July 22nd.
22nd.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposing, abstain? Okay, so with that, you want to,
So the application for 265 Adams Avenue, Block 506, Lot 3 will be carried to the July 22nd meeting without further notice.
all right. Thank you, and with that, that is our last item on our agenda for this evening. Unless the board has anything further, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed, abstain? Stand adjourned, 9:15 PM.